So with the three models, our three priorities were health and safety, equity, and flexibility. And so we're going to talk about those first, and then we'll get into the specific what the day will look like as we move forward. Health and safety. We will follow the guidance of the Department of Health and other agencies. So everyone will be wearing masks. I'll get into that in a little more detail in a couple minutes. All right, but mask wearing will be required on our buses and in our schools throughout the day. We've built our room, so to speak, with 6-foot distancing in mind, again, following the guidance of the various governmental sources, et cetera. For that, students and adults will all participate in a daily health screening. Everyone, parents and employees will receive an email text around 6 a.m. every day, asking them to complete that, and then another one at 7 in case they forgot. So we hope that will take care of it. But for folks who forgot and show up at our doors, we have a list, if you will, for our dashboard to let us know who still needs to be temperature checked and screened. It is our plan to continue to do temperature checks throughout the day, certainly in the beginning for anybody who missed, who didn't do their screening. But we believe we have the capacity and enough thermometers to go around and check on all kids' temperatures, throughout the day as well as we move forward. So that'll be one additional layer of health and safety that we'll be working on. We will spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year with hand hygiene and teaching our kids proper hand washing, proper use of and wearing of the mask, and what physical distancing really means, not just in the classrooms, but when you're in the hallways, walking out to your car or bus, depending on how you're coming and going to school, etc., at recess time, and other places. So a lot of training, if you will, for our students when they arrive in September, and our staff will receive the same training as well early in the school year. And we'll continue to monitor that and continue to reteach when necessary those practices as we go through. We do have procedures in place for regular cleaning and disinfecting of surfaces during the day, and then everywhere at night for that. So the tools we have will help us do that effectively and efficiently during the day, and as well as when our night crew is here doing a cleaning and disinfecting as well. But we're again confident that we can keep our surfaces clean during the day, especially the high touch areas, desktops, wash areas, things like that, throughout the day, and then at night, everything, floors, etc. Everybody gets cleaned and disinfected in the evenings as we go forward. So, in the same token as health and safety is well-being, and we are very focused on making sure that our students and employees, their mental well-being is also healthy as well. We know a lot of people are stressing over the current world we're in and the circumstances we're in. And so we want to make sure that everyone feels safe, whether they're in school or learning remote, and feels, that they can continue to lead their lives the way they would like in that regard. So we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on building relationships, supporting the social emotional needs of our students and staff, and supporting each other and building community, and doing that by, again, teaching and reinforcing safety protocols, because when people feel safe, that tends to lessen the stress involved with people may have. So again, we're going to be just as concentrated on the emotional well-being as well as the physical well-being of our students and staff in our schools. Going back to masks, again, here's just a slide with the guidance that we see as we progress through. And again, both the state education, Department of Health, want kids and adults to be wearing masks, but also understand that 7 hours straight without a mask break is asking a lot. So we will have mask breaks during the school day. And so our mask protocol, and we're trying to keep this as very short and clear as possible, so there's no ambiguity as far as to the interpretation. When you're in the buildings, you're wearing a mask. right? When you're moving in and out of the buildings, etc., you're wearing a mask. When you enter the classroom, you're wearing a mask. When you're moving about the classroom, you're wearing a mask. And when everyone is sitting down and will be physically distanced, of course, because the desk will be that way. All right, the teacher then can, for a better way of saying it, give the all clear and then provide mask breaks throughout the class period of time. Right? And there's a lot of ways a teacher could do that, but as long as it's equitable, that all kids get mask breaks throughout the class period. And again, that will vary depending on what building you're in. That we're looking for a substantial amount of time where kids while in the classroom may not have to have their mask on. But again, if I'm a student, I'm at my desk, I need to get up and go to and talk to the teacher. I need to put my mask on, etc. So we will walk through all these step by steps as we progress through. The teachers are here the first couple of days, as well as certainly when the kids are here. And this will be certainly a learning experience for everybody. And we will reinforce the expectation that masks will be worn while moving about, so to speak, in the classrooms. But to take them off, those will be teacher directed. Kids will also be able to take their mask off when they're eating lunch or breakfast as well in the morning and in the afternoons. The way to do that without taking your mask off. So that'll occur as well. And again, we will be walking through and training the kids on how to what the etiquette will be in the cafeteria or their classrooms, depending on where they're eating their lunch or breakfast. And we'll again keep reinforcing that process until our kids are doing it naturally every day. I know there's been questions on what happens when somebody is potentially sick. And so what will occur is if a teacher feels that one of their students might have a fever or is just sick in general, they'll call the nurse's office, right? And the student will be sent down to the nurse. Right? The nurse will begin the evaluation, right? And then a fever, they'll check for fever. If the child does not have a fever, then they'll go through their other assessments that they would normally do. Maybe he has a bug or something else. If this child does have a fever, right, then the student will also be looking for other COVID symptoms. And if the student does not have any other COVID symptoms, just has the fever, then the parent will still be called to pick up the child. The child will have to stay home 48 hours, fever free, without any help from Benadryl or whatever, Tylenol, whatever you might give your child. For that, Benadryl, and or okayed from a note from their provider to come back to school. If the student has other symptoms in addition to the fever, all right, then the student will be isolated. Right, the parent will be called to pick up the student, and we will begin our COVID response protocols here in the school. And then the parent will be given a set of things they must do as well. So for that student who has fever and other COVID symptoms, right, they will be sent home. They will need to go see a healthcare provider. That healthcare provider will be the one determining whether the child needs to have a COVID test or not. And then if the physician were to say no, it's up to the physician to give the kid a note to come back to school. Without a note, the kid's not coming back to school. So you need to have a note. If the physician says, yes, I want you to have a COVID test, then the child will remain home waiting for the results. If the results come back negative, the child can return to school with evidence that the test was negative. If the test was positive, the child or employee test positive for COVID-19, right, then we will take step 2, if you will, into our COVID response, which includes the contact tracing and partnering with the Department of Health and figuring out who may have been exposed to COVID-19 while the student was here at school or the employee was here at school. And then those folks will be notified right away and also be required to quarantine as well as we go forward. I will say, on a step back, I'm sorry, the flow chart. Part of our initial steps for COVID response is the cleaning and disinfecting of the spaces the student was in as well. Right, so that's up, right there. Once we find out the kid has the fever and other symptoms, we begin cleaning and disinfecting those spaces. Um, that the child was in. So again, back to if the student was positive, 14-day, the remainder of the 14-day quarantine, and then we begin notifying people who may have been, who were close contact with for 15 minutes or more with that student, leading up to that moment. Again, the Department of Health pretty much takes over at that point in determining who, when, and how people are isolated or quarantined and returned back to school. Right, so we'll follow their guidance on that. But our role in this is to provide the tracing information on who the child may have come in contact with for an extended period of time during the school days that led up before prior to them being sick or going home sick or being tested. Right? And we actually have some software that'll tie into our student management system that'll allow us to very rapidly do that as well. So that'll help immensely in that process as we go forward. Our second priority is equity. And again, the dynamic learning model, by providing both a choice, first of all, between remote and in-person learning, we felt was the right thing to do for kids and families. We know everybody's in different situations at their homes, and so we want to give parents that opportunity to have their kids here learning in person, or if they so choose, to keep them at home and learning from CA teachers remotely. We will do our best to make sure that regardless of where a child is learning, they're still receiving a quality education from our CA staff. And that'll, again, continue throughout this time, if you will. We also see this as an opportunity for our teachers to do innovative things in their classrooms as far as, learning goes. Yes, there's going to be physical separation in the classroom, but there's opportunities, utilizing our digital resources to do some interesting lessons and projects, etc., with our students. So we're going to encourage that as we move through this. We're also going to continue to implement our Redefining Readiness initiative, which we've been rolling out for the last couple of years, and the last two specifically in the high school. We're expanding that to K-12. Again, as a part of our equity, our overall equity philosophy, is we know that test scores is not a good indicator of student achievement nor future success, test scores alone. And so we have developed through looking at the research, et cetera, what are the indicators that we can rely on that say that the child will be successful in their future. Right? And so using those, both academic indicators, life indicators, career ready indicators, we will have created, if you will, scorecards for each student to monitor themselves, and their families can monitor, and they'll have assistance from their teachers to kind of have a bird's eye view of how am I doing when it comes to being ready for the next step in my life, the next level. I'm an elementary student. What are the benchmarks that I should be striving for so I'm ready for middle school? If I'm a middle school student, what are those benchmarks that I should be striving for so I'm ready for high school? If I'm a high school student, what indicators and levels and benchmarks I need to accomplish so that I'm ready, whether I go to college, whether I go into the workforce, or just life in general for that. So we'll be providing a lot more information shortly, actually, with parents and students. Right, so as the school year begins, right, you can see where, again, where our focus is really on the whole child, and not just on getting a kid ready for a state test or something like that. So it's about educating the whole child and allowing them the opportunity to showcase their talents and their achievements and readiness in a variety of ways. Finally, our plans were developed with flexibility in mind. We feel our dynamic model will allow us to transition, if necessary, into full remote because we'll have a certain percentage of kids already there. All right, so we're working on that again, and we'll continue to improve on what we did in the spring in this model. And we actually have 2 days scheduled in September for to test out our full remote model, and that'll be September 16th and September 30th. So those 2 days, students will be at home all day, learning remotely. And again, this is just to make sure everything is working and there's no barriers to full remote learning if that should occur in our school district. And then able to transition back to in person if we are able to do that as well. So what does the days look like? In the high school, grades 9 through 12 will have daily in-school learning. Class sizes are limited, so the number of desks in each room is based on the square footage. Instruction will be in longer blocks of time. So on a typical high school day, there'll be 4 blocks, and lunch will be part of the 3rd block as well. Right? And so each block will be in the 70-minute range, with the 3rd block being longer because lunch is included in there as well. 8:10 is to start, and 2:30 is dismissal for the high school on a daily basis. We are working on a variety of different ways to have kids transition from class to class. So kids will be moving in the high school, going from class to class. Included in that will be cleaning between classes. So you'll be going into a room each period with clean desks and things like that. Right, so we're working on those options and how to do that and best manage that in a typical day. Breakfast will be grab and go. As kids arrive in the morning, they will go through the line or go to a kiosk, grab their breakfast, and be able to eat that during the first block. And lunch will be served in the cafeteria. We've added an additional lunch period, so there's actually 4 lunch cycles during the day. Right? So kids will be able to eat in the cafeteria, and then if necessary, if we need some extra space, we have some classrooms set aside as well for that as well. But actually, the high school will have individual desks. There's a picture of that on our website with pictures of other classrooms on our website. So they will be sitting at a desk in the cafeteria to have their lunch. It's not ideal. It's actually kind of complete opposite of where we were headed with our cafeteria as far as our setting goes. But again, this is to provide a safe place for all of our kids to eat each day. Morning and dismissal, etc. Multiple entrances will be utilized. So we'll be communicating that out to parents as we get closer to opening, drop off and pick up, different doors, etc. As we move forward during the school year. For students whose parents have selected the remote option, the students will be expected to attend their classes when scheduled during the school day. So for a high school student, it's not 2 hours and I'm done. Right? I'm going to my 4 classes during the school day, and signing in virtually through Google Meet and participating, etc., in those classes. The middle school day, CTE will run. So kids who go to BOCE CTE will run pretty much similar to what it has been running, with half days and things like that. In the middle school, a similar schedule. Again, 5-8 will be here every day in class. Instruction will also be in longer blocks as well. The difference between the middle school and the high school is the students will stay with the same cohort for the whole day. Right, so if I'm a 6th grader, I will be staying with those same kids. I'm with first block. They'll be the same kids I'll be with 4th block as well. So, and the teachers will be going to them for the most part. There are some exceptions. Some of our specials, the kids will be going to their special classrooms. So for technology, for example, they'll go down to Mr. Wager's room for tech class and things like that. But it will be a cohort together through the hall with their mask on as they go to those classes. There will still be recess throughout the day provided to the kids. Breakfast will be served during first blocks. The students will go directly to their first block classes after the teachers are done with PLP. So we'll be timing that up. And then the kids will have time to have breakfast in first period. So first period, I think, is a little longer as well than 2nd and 4th blocks for that. Lunch will be in the cafeteria, and again, as like the high school, if necessary, some overflow rooms for lunches to be provided. And again, multiple entrances, and students who are remote in the middle school will be following their schedules as well, their daily schedules. For the block schedule in the middle school, high school, it's going to be for the most part, an every other day schedule. So for middle school students, that would look like first block, I might have English. right, on A day, and then on B day on first block I might have math, and I just alternate every other day. So I will have about 4 subjects a day every other day. So I'll have English homework, 2 times or 3 times a week, depending on the week, in that regard. So kids will have a maximum of 4 classes of homework a night instead of 8 or 9. So that should hopefully help out as well. And in the block structure, there should be time for kids to pretty much take care of any extra schoolwork they need to do before going home at night as well. So that'll is one advantage of a block schedule. It gives teachers some time to still cover the same amount of content, but it also gives them a little time to make sure kids can independently complete the work on their own, and for many kids, getting it done before they even walk out of the class each day. And again, that's for high school and middle school. The elementary day, again, all kids are here who choose to be here every day. Um, Again, the classrooms are set up with desks, and some have tables, but there'd be only one chair at a table instead of the usual maybe 2 at tables. Students will remain in their classrooms all day, again with the same cohort. The special teachers will come to them for specials, and exception being phys ed and recess. They'll go outside for recess whenever possible. Breakfast will be in their classrooms. There'll be bagged breakfasts kids can pick up on their way to their rooms, and then they'll have time to eat their breakfast in class. And then lunch will be in the cafeteria, and Mrs. Miller and Mr. Martino have created a lunch schedule that again keeps the kids flowing through and in and out, but at a safe distance from each other throughout the facility. For students whose parents have selected the remote option, you will be video conferencing in. We're finalizing the numbers literally as we speak right now. All right, and so we're going to have to determine at the elementary level how we're going to provide remote instruction that best works for everybody. Right? And so parents who've chosen the remote option will be contacted about that probably early next week on that. And so we're looking at a couple potential scenarios, and it also will vary depending on the grade level as well on how that might look. Again, depending on the numbers per grade level who've chosen remote instruction. One option is that there might be separate remote sections. So if we have a certain number of first graders who all choose remote instruction, then we may have a remote class of first graders. So that teacher, would be just assigned to those students, and the day would be modified because of that. You understand there's certain things you can't do remotely you can do in a classroom, especially in the elementary school. Just a reminder that kindergarten starts on September 21st, and parents will receive notification on screenings. So we'll be doing kindergarten screenings those first 2 weeks of September, okay? And then the classes will be set up based on those screenings as well. We are looking at ways for kids who are learning remote to somehow have, or better way to say it, meet the teacher day of some sort, or some kind of personal interaction. So again, because we know the difficulty can be to build relationships through a video screen. And so we're going to try to do something that we can do safely that allow those kids who are learning remotely to have some type of interactions with their teacher. I say personal, like in person, socially distance, of course, but at least in the same space for a little while. So we're trying to figure that out. No guarantees on that, but if we hopefully come up with some ideas on that complicated topic, we will make it happen. And again, just to summarize remote, in the middle school, high school, students are expected to attend their scheduled classes as they are during the day throughout the same day. So if I have math first block, I should be turning on and going through into Google Meet, at 8:10 for math first block. And then if I have social studies second block, I'm going to do that, and then third block, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So for a student, whether they're remote or in person, their day is 8:10 to 2:30 in the middle school, high school. Our students who have IEPs or need extra help, interventions, those services will be provided to remote students, and we'll work on that schedule as we get going here in September. Attendance is taken, regardless of what grade you're in. Daily attendance is taken. Right? That's a requirement by New York State. Right? So kids need to be here, need to be participating and being present, whether virtually or in person. And that's a overall summary of what we're looking for in beginning of school in September. As I mentioned, we still have a couple hundred. We're pretty good actually compared to a lot of districts. About 150 kids short of finding out what their parents want, whether remote or in person. So we're reaching out and trying to contact them. Right? And so the principals then can finalize class rosters and schedules and those things. So again, we plan for everybody to be here, so we know we can do it, right, which we can. Right? And now we're just kind of balancing class rosters out, for in person. So if we have 3 sections of algebra in 9th grade, that are in person, we want to make sure there's balance as possible. Because we do that anyway on any given year in person, and then the remote kids will be balanced as well within those sections at the high school level. So we anticipate kids finding out who their teachers are and their schedules early next week. Again, knowing that there's going to be still some conflicts we're going to have to work out, but we have those every year as far as scheduling conflicts, particularly the high school. So we're working on those this week as well as we go forward. So parents should know where their kid will be and who their teacher will be next week. Staff will know as well this week. They'll know what they're doing. For some reason it's changed, and we'll go from there. Then we'll continue to begin for a better way of saying, a communication rollout of what to expect as far as protocols and procedures, and we'll continue to communicate that throughout the rest of August and until we start on September 10th with grades 1 through 12. Right? So parents, you'll be probably receiving a regular number of emails or social media posts on everything from mask wearing to just reminders how lunch is going to work, drop off and pick up in the morning if you are self-transporting your child to school, those types of things. So we're just going to heavily communicate as much as possible, and then when everybody arrives, walk it through, model it, walk it through some more, and continue to practice those procedures and protocols regarding health and safety and just in general for that. So we're going to be monitoring throughout the beginning of the school year just to see how things are going and adjust as necessary. So these models and plans are certainly flexible. It goes back to our third priority, right? And if we need to adjust times, if we need to adjust just the overall flow of how things are operating in our schools, we will do that if it needs to be an improvement on where we're at. So I ask that everybody be flexible and understanding that, what looks good on paper, until we're in operation mode, we're never sure if it's how, it's going to work perfectly or work well or not. So we're just going to ask that everybody, all of our staff, employees, and students and their parents, we're going to be communicating that as well. Be prepared, right, for, some tweaks and alterations of what we set out to do on the first day. Again, it'll be to make things even better as we go forth. So that is the presentation at this time, and I don't really see a lot of parents on today, so I don't know. Anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat. And hearing none, all right, so it's a very nice morning out. Nice follow-up from our rainbows last night. So I'm just we'll be ending the conversation or the presentation at this time. I do obviously encourage anybody, if you do have questions, to contact your child's principal, right, and they will get you the information as needed. And again, thank you for everybody who's filled out their form as far as what they want right now for their kid to be doing in the fall. And we'll follow up with those who have not yet done that, though I think we're actually a much higher, better percentage of responses than I know some of my colleagues have received across the region. So that's a good thing on that. And again, we'll be continually to communicate out as protocols are finalized in regards to the different aspects of the school day. So again, thanks for everybody for being here. And again, if you have questions, contact your principal or you can reach out to me as well. So have a wonderful day. Thank you.